Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. And for today's movie review, I will be reviewing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out in 2003, October 17th of 2003, and was directed by Marcus Nispel and stars Jessica Biel, Jonathan Tucker, and Andrew Bryanarski. I probably said that. I probably butchered that really bad, but sorry. Anyway, so this is the remake, or what have you, to the Texas Chainsaw films. And I'm going to say up front, I haven't seen the original. I decided to watch this based off of the Silver Shamrock and what he said about it. And I value his opinion. So I decided I was going to go ahead and check this out and hope that it was good. Again, there's a lot of bad horror movies out there. I don't think this is one of them. I actually enjoyed this movie. I had some problems with it, but overall, I think I enjoyed this movie. Marcus Nispel as the director. I believe this was his first time directing. I think he had come from more or less music videos, and the producer on this was Michael Bay. And as a filmmaker, Michael Bay is more missed with me than he does do hits. But as producer, he kind of helped to teach Marcus a little bit and kind of share his knowledge. But it was Marcus. It was his movie as the director, and I think this film worked again for quite a few reasons. One thing that up front, and I saw this in the extras because I watched some of the making of, they didn't go out to try to just recreate the first one. So, like verbatim, they didn't try to do it shot by shot or anything like that. They basically just went and redid kind of the first movie entirely. There's really not that much similar going on. And I kind of appreciate that in a way, because you can enjoy both films separately. They both have their good points to them. So it's a little bit it's a little bit more of a standalone film in a way. I really like Jessica Biel as an actress. I liked her in this movie quite a bit as the main character. As far as the other cast goes, with Jonathan Tucker, Mike Vogel, Eric Balfour, and Erica Learson. I probably said that wrong. As far as the other teenage characters that this movie focuses around, I think they did a pretty decent job. So I didn't hate, and this was one of those movies where, again, they don't stick to the quite the typical characterizations of the teenagers. They do a little bit, but they actually veer a little away from it too. And there's no sex in this movie, so that surprised me. Also, the amount of gore that was in this movie surprised me. I expected it to have a lot of gore, and it didn't. It didn't actually have as much as I thought it would. There was a lot of shortcut frame shots that were centered around, they were centered around what was happening, but they were at an angle where you didn't really see the full force of the brutality that was going on. And I actually like that. I don't tend to like films that focus on the blood and gore very heavily, and this one didn't, so that was surprising. Overall, I think the characters did a pretty good job, rather. R. Lee Ermey as the sheriff, or quote-unquote sheriff, I wasn't really a fan of his. He actually did a lot of just kind of ad-lib when he was doing his lines, and I think he was just a little too over the top. As far as Leatherface is concerned, I thought he was fine as a villain. I thought that whole deal with the house and what he was doing and everything there, or what they had him do. That was interesting. There wasn't really too much in detail into it, but I liked what I saw. There was one scene though where Leatherface he kills one of the characters, and then takes the skin and attaches it over his face because his face is disfigured or what have you. And so when he shows up later in front of some of the other characters with that face on, it's the dumbest thing in that entire movie. I didn't care for it at all. I thought it was really stupid. I get what they were going for, but it just didn't work. But as far as some of the ways that the characters die, I thought that was interesting because I expected some of them to die sooner than they ended up doing. And, the ending, I didn't quite see the ending happening the way it does, given that it's a horror movie. Kind of figured it would play out a certain way, and it didn't. So that was kind of surprising. I was kind of impressed by that. This movie didn't really have too many moments where I was bored. And that's really good for a horror movie to have. So I didn't overdo it on the gore. It didn't have any real boring parts. The main characters were fine. None of them were really standouts. I personally like Jessica Biel quite a bit. So, I liked her, but she was probably the only one that I would have even put. And so it makes sense why she's the main character. But I thought the others did fine. I thought the story was all right. The opening to the movie, the opening scene was pretty interesting in a way, and some of the visuals threw me off a little bit. So and I, honestly, I would have preferred a little bit more characterization of the kind of the rednecks in the film, but I didn't really expect that, so it didn't surprise me too much. There wasn't any real scare points to this movie, and I expected it to be quite a few. There just wasn't, and I've noticed that on quite a few of the Michael Bay produced films, so I don't know what that really implies or what's really the reasoning. It's just something I've noticed among several of them. But anyway, overall, I did enjoy this movie, and being that it's the first one, I didn't really have many expectations of it. So, but I'm going to go ahead and rank it, and I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Pretty much, like I said, it definitely has its moments to it. It's definitely got some really cool shots in it, and just it never really bored me the entire time. There's there's a lot of ridiculous scenes with the sheriff, and I'll be honest, that took me out of the movie pretty much every time he showed up. So again, I get it that it was, he just kind of took Arlie Ermy took this character to kind of a new level than what they were expecting. But I wish he had toned it back a little bit because it took me out. The redneck family in general wasn't really a lot to them. I did like Leatherface for the screen time that he got, and he didn't even have a full screen time. But for the screen time he got, I like him. The cast was, wasn't bad. Jessica Biel kind of stood out for me a little bit. I thought, again, visually the movie was pretty decent, and it kept me entertained the whole way through. And it had an ending that I didn't see the ending happening. So that was all really good. So it did have a lot going for it. It had negative going for it too, but overall I enjoyed it, and I think it's a decent horror film, and I picked it up for like a little over $6, so I think that was worth it. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you, the Silver Shamrock. And if you haven't, go and subscribe to him and watch his videos. He does a lot of cool videos. He's got a horror-thon going, which is pretty cool. And yeah, hopefully you guys like this. Click this like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Watch my other vids. I appreciate ya. Anyway, that'll wrap this up. So until next time, peace.